Steve, thanks for joining me this afternoon. It's really great to see you again. I want to take you back and start you off with a question like this. I want you to re-experience your first victory on your first case.
I can't even remember that far because the first victory I remember was in the corrugated box case because it was a big case and the trial lasted a long time. So it was like a 3.5-month trial. It was a big victory at the time. It was like $300 million, $400 million verdict. And that was, I think, in 1980. And so, you know, it's great fun. I mean, you know, there were a lot of lawyers working on the case. We were waiting around for the jury verdict, and it was tried over here in Houston in federal court.
Steve, do you have any superstitions?
I think trial lawyers suffer a lot from superstitions. And one of my superstitions is I do better when I'm not there waiting to get the verdict. First place, when I'm waiting at the courthouse, it drives me crazy. The anxiety is terrible. I can't stand it, okay? You know, and I just leave town immediately and get someone else in my office to accept the verdict. There's nothing you really can, you know, if you win, the client's going to be sure to call you and send you a big case of wine. You're going to be doing a lot of celebrating. If you lose, you're just as well be on the other side of the country, or better yet, in a different country when a bad verdict comes in. So, you know, I've always figured there's nothing I can do after I make my final argument. I get out of town. And that's kind of one of my superstitions. So usually when I get after the corrugated box case, I don't think I've been waiting around for verdicts. I don't do it. I just leave.
Do you have any fears or anxieties when it comes to practicing law?
I have an anxiety dream. And the anxiety dream is if I'm having my first argument in the United States Supreme Court, and I get to court that morning, and I look at my briefcase, and my argument is not there. It's just not there. And I don't have time to figure out where it is. So I'm going to have to totally wing it. And then I wake up. Okay, it is a bad anxiety dream for a lawyer. That's my only anxiety dream. When I'm awake and practicing law, I don't have anxiety. I deal with the situation of the jury verdicts by just not being there, by going off and doing something and enjoying myself. And because I basically conclude there's nothing I can do. And I did my best, and that's it.
Steve, what's your philosophy in working with your opponents?
The best thing we can do in a case is not make enemies of the other side. I think litigation, you should make love rather than fight with the other side. You are a vigorous adversary in the courtroom, and you do fight in the courtroom. But that's showmanship. You know, the show's on. It's like an athletic event. You are going to be much more effective if you can litigate by agreement and in a cooperative spirit. And it takes all the stress out of litigation because you know that the other lawyer's not waiting for you to screw up, and you're not waiting for them to screw up. I mean, a little thing, you know, now, okay, you asked the wrong question in court with a witness on the stand, that's a screw up, but that's okay. You're in the competition then. But keep in mind that that's such a small percentage of what I actually do. You know, the time that I'm actually in the courtroom is 10% of my time. The rest of it's very relaxing because I don't fight and we make friends. And I tell the young lawyers and the lawyers in my firm the same thing, that never get in a fight with opposing counsel.
You know, one of the things that I certainly know about Susman and Godfrey is that your attorneys rarely leave. So tell me what the secret recipe is and what it's like working at Susman Godfrey.
I believe that a happy lawyer is an effective lawyer. If you are dealing with a law firm where the lawyers are satisfied and happy and enjoy what they are doing, you're going to have much better work product. You're going to have better lawyers. We hire the best lawyers in the world. With the best credentials. 97% of my lawyers are clerk for a federal court of appeals judge. Most of them have been editors of their law review. They come to us because most of them are entrepreneurial, which is a characteristic you want of a trial lawyer, because that's basically a lawsuit is an enterprise. It's a business. You have raw materials and you make something, a product which you go to give to the jury, and hopefully it sells. So they're entrepreneurial by nature, and they want to become partners. And so our partnership track at my firm is 5 years after you're with the firm. Compare it to 10 years or 9 years at most large law firms. That's different. So they say, okay, I'm going to go with Susman Goldberg. Besides, I hear that's a firm where lawyers get compensated based upon how much they bring in. I want young people who I can rely on, who I can give responsibilities to. Much of our work is contingent fee work. I do mostly plaintiff's work myself. I'm not charging by the hour, so what's the most important thing to me is the best work product I can get from the youngest lawyer possible. And that's my that's my margin. Result versus what it costs me to produce the result. That's my profit. And if I can use a lawyer right out of law school and give him a task that at other firms go to junior partners who have been practicing for 14 or 15 years, and he's successful in that task, I'm going to get way ahead, which is why that lawyer wants to work for me rather than go to work for a large law firm, because he knows he's going to get that task. He knows the day he gets there, he's going to be taking depositions and going to court and making arguments. And if he works on a case with me, in my case, the rule is if you work on a case, no matter how young you are, you have stand-up time in front of the jury. There's no firm in the United States that does that. I mean, they all have a cast of thousands sitting in the courtroom, but they don't open their mouth. So the lawyers love it, and they want to come to work for Susman Goldberg, and they love their work like I love my work, and they want to be lawyers.
So tell me what it must be like to work with your son.
He has accomplished everything professionally that I have. I mean, he was editor of the Law Review, clerk for the United States Supreme Court, brilliant, and he is working on our firm and he loves it. And so you just think about how many fathers, or mothers for that matter, have children that do exactly what they do, that walk in their footsteps without any problem. And you know that if they do that, they have seen their parents love doing what they do.
You have so much passion for the law. It's no wonder you're as successful as you are. What else are you passionate about in life?
I mean, I like to do a lot of things. I love to ski. I love to travel. My wife and I travel a lot.
You love having your grandkids in your lap?
I love spending time with my grandchildren. I love collecting art. We're big art collectors. I'm involved in a lot of civic organizations. I'm politically active. And so there are things I do other than practice law. But basically, my passion is being a lawyer.
Steve, how has practicing law changed during your career?
Electronic communication has doubled the amount of time we have to do things. I mean, so essentially, I mean, in the olden days, I couldn't practice law without being at the office. I had to be there because the books were there and the papers were there. Now I practice law whenever I'm in the back seat of a cab, whenever I'm on an airplane, whenever I'm waiting in an airport, whenever I'm in Australia or India or New Zealand or wherever in the world. I have my laptop, I'm electronically connected, I do my email, I get my mail, I don't rely on Federal Express, everything's electronic.
So in conclusion, one word that describes Steve Susman.
Intense.
And fun.
Okay, but I'm intense about whatever I do.
You are.
Play, work, whatever it is. That's what my wife says, you're intense.